If that person came in, you found out that they were coming in because of focus, and I'm teaching my whole entire lesson about confidence, I'm not doing anything to tell them that I can help with focus. Guys, let's get back to your seats. We are going to be covering sales and how to sell what we call conversationally. This is one of my favorite ways to sell is through conversation. I definitely am not a fan of high pressure sales. That it just leaves a really weird feeling and a ickiness, I guess you could say, if that's a word. Like, I just don't like high pressure. I've listened to lots of people. I've tried it on for size and it just doesn't fit me well. I'll just say that. So fast action discounts, things like that where there's a lot of external pressure work in certain situations, but not as the norm. And I'll tell you about the difference between the two here in just a little bit. But we are going to get moving on to the 3 keys to conversational selling. In a little bit, I'm going to pass out, or I'll have one of my team members help pass out an actual script for you guys. If you're watching live, you'll get the script as well. When it comes down to our 7 keys, we've been kind of going through these different 7 keys. You guys have gotten just about everything on here except Ascension, which will be tomorrow. So we've talked about acquisition. We're going to talk about sales. We talked about student success, leadership. Mr. Sealer did that. Clarity, I gave you guys that. He also talked about vision. So it's the whole thing, guys. The whole thing is all about this weekend. But right now, we're going to dive specifically into sales. When you are selling, there are 3 sections to conversational selling. And the first part is you need to show. You need to show that what you're about to ask them for is totally worth it. You have to show them that. You have to show it by smiling and building rapport. As soon as somebody comes in the door for their lesson, you need to greet them before they get 3 steps in. Literally 3 steps in. Make sure. Hello, sir. 3 steps in. I missed it. I was like, I gotta finish my thought before, but I did see you. So easiest way to do that is train your staff and train yourself. Hey, how can we help you? Right? You need to be able to say that as soon as they get in. There was a time when I had some of my team members that were not team members that I would hire now. They're not with us obviously anymore, but they were at our front desk and they would just be buried in the front desk and they weren't paying attention to the door. And so people would walk in and they'd look around. And I actually sat there and watched one time because it was like that boiling point moment when you're like, this is it. This is the moment it all boils over right here. And so I'm sweet, but there's some spice underneath, right? So it's boiling and I feel it and they're just like looking at the desk and a person walks in and the person looks around, looks at them at the desk and walks out. And I went, boiling point reached. So how can we help? You do 3 steps in as soon as somebody comes in the door. And this was back when we got more walk-ins. But another thing is if you have someone already scheduled for an appointment, you should know that Susie is coming in at 5 o'clock. So you should go ahead and go, okay, well, Susie's coming in and so is Johnny. So I'm looking for a little girl and I'm looking for a little boy. Oh, here's a mom and a dad with a little boy, okay? Hi, Johnny. Hey, Johnny's parents. Nice to meet you. How are you guys? I'm doing that as soon as they get in the door. If you're doing this, that's great. But if you have team members and they're not doing it, it's because you didn't require them to do it. I'm going to repeat that for those in the back. So you have to require people to do things. If they're not doing it, it's your fault, period. It's your fault. So you have to require them to do it. The next thing that you have to do is you have to start thinking about how am I going to get this person to tell me why they're here and what their objective is for the future. Like, why did you come to martial arts classes? You have to actually teach. We automatically think that this is part 1, teaching. It's not. Part 1 is discovery and showing them how you are going to be valuable to them because you're asking questions. Part 2 is teach. You need to teach them an actual lesson. Listen, one of the cool things about working with clients in the UK, I love what they call their introductory lesson. I don't think we could get away with it here in the US just because of the terminology. They call it a taster. I'm like, that's cool, you know? It's a taster. So you come in, you do it. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm just going to get a little taste of what it's like to be a martial arts student, but I don't have to memorize a whole entire kata. I don't have to memorize how to go from side mount to knee control to the mount to an armbar. I don't have to memorize a whole entire kung fu set. I don't have to memorize a Kali set, with a Eskrima. I don't have to do any of those things. I just have to have a little taste. That's it. While we're teaching the lesson, we want to agitate the pain that we found out about earlier. This is sales 101 that I'm just bringing here. Whatever business that you do, if you're selling and you're selling appropriately, you need to agitate the pain. There's two types of parents typically that come into your introductory lesson room. And I'm going to talk about kids first, and I'll talk about adults. The type of parent that will come into your introductory lesson room either thinks that their kid is perfect and they can do no wrong. Well, there's really three, but the one is really rare. Really rare. So they either think that their kid can do no wrong and that their child floats on water and like all this stuff, right? And so they will be the one that's like, oh, they're a really good kid. They don't need anything. We just wanted to try out martial arts, right? That's that one. This other side is the parent who is either desperate in the sense that they've tried everything else and their kid is horrible, in their words, a horrible child, and that they can't get their child to listen to them, or that's maybe the focus and discipline side, or that their child's so shy and they can't break them out of their shell. Like, they're desperate. They need you, and you wouldn't even have to do anything else. A doctor recommended them to come to you. A neighbor did, something like that. Like, that's that person. And then, so that's kind of like, I would say they're a little bit more rare when they're coming directly to you. Like, I've heard so many great things about you guys, but my child is really suffering from focus. I really think you guys can help me. Like, all you'd have to do is very little agitation of that, because they already know. The two that are more popular is the one that floats on air, right? Like, that floats on water, whatever. That one, my child can do no wrong. And the one that's kind of apathetic, like, yeah, he's okay. He's a good kid, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to say, yeah, Beckett is my son. Beckett is awful. Like, he does. I'm not that parent, but I'm also not the parent who's like, my child's perfect. So you're going to have those two types of parents. You discuss the program at the end of the introductory lesson. So you discuss the whole entire program and you overcome objections.